what people have thought about, because the reality is that you really do want to have sort of a plan of action beyond the kind of the financial side. I mean, there's a lot of non-financial components that come with retirement that are certainly very important to discuss. I mean, we see the studies, right? So if you stop working and just sit around the house, you're going to increase your chances of your memory declining, your physical health declining, and ultimately that's not very good. That's going to lead to a less than desirable retirement. So sort of the key takeaway for that is really you've got to kind of have a plan of action, and not just the financial. I mean, obviously the financial is pretty darn important, of course, but you've also got to be thinking about it from that non-financial point of view, and ultimately how you're planning on spending your time. Now, obviously the financial stuff is pretty important, right? And that's with making sure that you kind of really start out with making sure that you still have some form of an emergency savings type of an account for kind of all of those unexpected types of expenses. A lot of folks think, oh, I got retired. I'm retired now, so I don't necessarily need to have an emergency savings account. And that's not the case at all. I mean, you still have emergencies when you're retired that are going to cost you significant sums of money, whether it's leaky roof or car accident or whatever the case may be. So if that is the case, then you need to make sure that you are continuing to maintain a good level of an emergency savings account. So just because you're retired doesn't mean that changes. It's still important to have that. Along with that, we often talk about sort of the diversification from a tax nature of different types of accounts. It's important to have not just diversification from an investment perspective, but also diversification from a tax perspective, right? Because if all of your assets are pre-tax, well, that's fine, but just know that when you take money out, they're all going to be, every dollar you take out is going to be taxed as ordinary income, versus if you have some buckets that are filled with after-tax dollars, then as you take those dollars out, the only thing you're going to have to pay tax on is the capital gain. So the importance of tax diversification certainly makes some sense when it comes to your overall financial plan for retirement. Of course, with retirement, you got to continue to also maintain some type of a budget structure, or at least a rough idea of how much you are spending. Sort of like one of those same things as the emergency savings account. You need to make sure that you continue to have an emergency savings account in retirement.